All right, I have to talk about this show because I have a lot to say about it. And the thing about it is, I don't know how many people have actually watched it or heard of it. This is Mrs. Davis. This is the newest release from Damon Lindelof, co-created by Tara Hernandez. And it is a very interesting series to talk about. First off, it's a Peacock original, which limits the audience widely, and it has a distribution worldwide through various platforms. I don't know what the distribution is worldwide. I just can't see how this is gonna be a successful show because nobody's talking about it. The people who are talking about it are very on the nose about it. This is a weird show, and I say that as somebody who watches a lot more content than the regular person. I know that's such a stupid thing to say because anybody can watch anything, but I talk about a lot of television on this platform. On other platforms, I talk about even more television, and just in my personal life, I watch a lot of stuff I don't talk about. This is one of those shows where just from the get-go, you can feel the engine revving up, getting ready to pull out of the garage, and just drive down the highway and have everybody turn to look at it wow, that's a really cool car. But it stalls out in the garage and almost burns down the garage it's in because it's so weird. And I say that, and I mean it. I sometimes I'm this is a weird show, and I say it a joking manner, this is really funny, and it's so cool to see this attempt. I do feel that way about Mrs. Davis, but this is a lot. I would describe it as a lot of ideas being thrown at you, and it's just a hard thing to consume, even when you understand what it's doing. First off, the part about Mrs. Davis I think is going to be hard for a lot of people to break into for the entry, is this is straight up a comedy. We are doing a Looney Tunes-esque, World Globe-trotting Pink Panther meets Monty Python meets Black Mirror bullshit thing. It's doing all of those in a serious comedy. And on that note, every actor is committed to the comedic part of this and makes it really entertaining in that regard. But if you cannot understand, it is a comedy, and I do get that completely. I have seen people watch this and not get it's a comedy. People in my family have watched it and not really got it's a comedy. Or they watch it and it's this isn't even funny. What's it doing? It is so esoteric. It is so specific. It is almost impenetrable if you're not willing to commit to the ride it's taking you on. And that ride is a trip. It's funny. The actors are doing over-the-top comedic bits. There is a couple of, standing right behind me, isn't he, jokes. And that's kind of boring, but it does give you some really intense stuff. Look, so many performances are over the top. If you want to get a sense of what the style of this is, I recommend just watching Christy Mitopoulos' performance as JQ in this. It is just Duke Nukem meets every character Bruce Willis has ever played if he was doing a parody of Kano from the Mortal Kombat movie. It's insane, and it's crazy, and if you want more proof that this is a cartoon, the lead character's name is Wily. It's a cartoon, and that is going to be so jarring for some people. But for me, I figured it out after episode 1. A rough episode 1 where I was I cannot feel myself enjoying this. The story progressed, and I started to go, okay, I see what we're doing now. I don't love what we're doing, but I see the mechanics and I see the gears spinning, so I can get behind the effect that we're doing here. The basic premise for the show, if you could say basic premise, is there is this algorithm AI, the biggest app in the world, that has taken over the place of religion and identity, of individuality, and it's controlling people. There's this one woman who is a nun who is against the app. The app is named Mrs. Davis in America. Across the world, it's called Mother or Mama, those kind of things. You get it. The app's hey, can I send you on a quest for me to find the Holy Grail? And what? That alone is just a really weird idea. I was reading a little bit about the behind the scenes process, and the creators were kind of we wanted to tell a story where it felt like an app took over religion. And in that aspect, I think there's something to explore there. It does have that Black Mirror ideology where it's like, look at how far technology has come to corrupt you. That is a vibe it gets into and experiences. But then it just goes into a huge British comedy sketch show for like 12 minutes every episode, where you just have like a bunch of dudes screaming at like the downfall of the algorithm. We have to go fight knights and stuff. We have like flashbacks upon flashbacks. There's one event that happens at the beginning of the episodes. You're like, oh, this is what we're doing. And then it turns out, no, this is actually a Super Bowl ad. And you're like, what? Where did that come from? And then just spirals down like, this is a real thing. So it's dealing with a bunch of different things. The first thing it's dealing with is an artificial intelligence in the form of an app taking over the world and communicating to specific people through using that. Every episode has a sequence where somebody plugs into Mrs. Davis and they're talking directly to a person as if they were Mrs. Davis in a personified form. That is something to explore that is terrifying and creepy. Making that a comedy, I understand that. You want to throw in the religious aspect of chasing the Holy Grail, a relationship with Jesus. Here's something that comes out of left field for this type of show. It has Jesus Christ as a character. He is a character in this show that our lead is married to. It's not a spoiler, I don't think. It does come up later on in the show, but he's a character who has an actual metaphysical plane that you can go talk to him in. And you're like, excuse me? It's insanity. It is insanity. And okay, so he's kind of against Mrs. Davis, but he wants his wife to be happy. It's so bizarre. So our lead character is fighting a battle between her place with God and her place with an algorithm. And now the algorithm is sending her on a mission to find the Holy Grail. So the Holy Grail is real in this universe. And I guess it's real in every universe. It's like an actual piece of like history. And what's insane about it is it kind of becomes like a meta commentary on the nature of storytelling itself, which I guess is kind of fun. If we're looking at this through a post-pandemic lens, where it's just like, we're cooped up inside, we became so reliant on technology, we kind of lost our way for the things that matter, like art and creativity, that the content we produce just becomes like stale singularities that don't have any real depth to them. So we have a character who is so anti the algorithm that the algorithm is like, I need you to go on this quest for me to help you to help me. So it becomes this idea of like, you're going to do all the cliches. There's going to be an organization after you. There's going to be a resistance that's going after you. You're going to have like a weird love triangle develop. There's going to be all these things thrown at you that you're going to have to experience for this grail. And the grail can either be perceived as like, it's not a real thing. It's just like a MacGuffin to get this girl on a journey to do the thing she has to do. Or it can be perceived as like, there's a literal grail. You literally have to do these things. It's a lot. It is a lot to throw at somebody. If you want casual viewing, this isn't the casual show. Not that it's hard to follow, it's just they're doing a lot of stuff. If you can't pin down the comedy, it's going to be very hard to penetrate this. And it's just so specific and weird, and not the best kind of weird. There are episodes I like. There are some really fun stuff. We have an entire episode pretty much that's just our two leads are on an island talking to a guy that's establishing all the backstory. It's like, this is literally what happened. Here you go. And they keep interrupting him because they're the audience like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Right, because we're tracking all of this. And that character is the daughter of this character who did this thing and have the connection to this. And then it delves into themes of like, okay, we have religious themes. They're going to help us here. We have to get the Holy Grail that's trapped in an undisclosed location. I don't want to spoil for you. We have to wear silly costumes all the time. It's crazy where we go. We go to the Vatican. We go to some weird festival where we have to like put our hand on a sword forever. We pull a heist within a heist. Like, we're doing like a globetrotting adventure for this show that is so specific. It is so bizarre. And what's even weirder, I guess it's not weirder, but it's Betty Gilpin as the lead. She plays our nun character, who is essentially the person trapped in every world. She knows the algorithm. Her dad used to be like a magician, so she has like the magic side compared to the science side. And she has Jesus with her, so she has the religious aspect. I will say that she is given 110% to the performance that she is told to give. That performance will not be for everybody. Her introduction is very jarring. Her character development is very jarring. But she has I think more than a lot of modern actresses on television trying to do this specific thing, she has proven she can do the weird, over-the-top, crazy comedy stuff, where if she's hyperventilating, she can just, like, slowly undress and be like, oh man, I'm freaking out right now. She can do the deadpan comedy. She can scream loudly and look uncomfortable in every situation. She has great face. She has great expressive movements. She is committed to this Monty Python sketch, and that's a good sign that you know what you're doing. I am genuinely impressed with what she did. And the supporting character, her ex-boyfriend, played by Jake McDorman, his name is Wiley. He's just like a wannabe cowboy who has an expiration date for when he's going to die from the algorithm, and he's part of the resistance. And they have to team up to find the Grail, but it also might be like they're special and magically connected to the history of the Grail. It's so bizarre, but you love every second of it. And look, they have really great chemistry. They are incredibly fun together. They are incredibly cute together. They are a hot couple. You know, you got a nun, you got a cowboy. They both get shirtless at times. The dude is ripped. I was surprised to see how ripped he was, and it's pretty epic stuff. It's specific and cliche, but it's also making light of the cliche stuff it's doing. The writing is very hard to penetrate, and it's like, okay, that's a specific joke you're making, so it's not the best script. I do think the camera work and the effects and like the budget we have is very impressive, and probably something we're never going to see again for a show on this scale. For something so specifically for nobody, there's a lot of money and effort poured into this thing, and I don't think we'll ever see the likes of it again. But it's an incredibly distinctive show. Saying all of this, I want people to watch it, but I also understand if you can't, because it is trying to ask a lot of its audience, and if you're not committed to it, and I'll be honest, there are times where I'm watching episodes and I'm like, I want to check my phone right now, or like, I don't need to see the length of this scene, because there's a lot of backstory that's brought up, and it's a lot. There is something to explore in here, and to see like a big budgeted Looney Tunes cartoon, it's pretty cool. Like, it's doing some weird stuff that I do enjoy, but there's also parts of it that don't work for anybody on any conceivable level. Am I glad it exists? Absolutely. Can I recommend it to everybody? No. But there is something about it that is worth checking out. At the very least, there is something to see here that you're not going to get anywhere else. And that's worth it in some capacity. So, Mrs. Davis Season 1. Hopefully we get more of these, because do it. I swear to God, do it. I'm going to give a 6 out of 10. Now, thank you all for watching this review. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. As always, you can check me out on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. And as always, I will catch you in the next one. Have fun. Stay safe. Good luck.